Hello, I am Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic, and today we are taking a closer look at the Honor Magic8 Pro, another flagship in a long line of devices known for top-tier cameras and performance. I've got around 200 photos for you from many places and situations, from harsh winter sunlight and peacocks in Prague's gardens to the bluish tones of the city at night, all in HDR. Let's dive in. I suggest we start with an overview of lenses and sensors. We have three lenses, three sensors here, plus the front camera, of course. And as you can see from this official illustration, Honor pays a lot of attention to night photography. So we can start with a couple of examples of shots taken at night. So these are examples from the main lens, main sensor. It has 23 millimeters and 50 megapixels. And yes, indeed, the results are pretty amazing. So the 50 megapixels helps us to get a lot of details and nice colors. And of course, this is a flagship camera, so we should not be that surprised. Let's see some more examples from night shooting. And here are some shots, of course, from daylight. And let me just remind you, this is a very quick introduction to the main lens, main sensor. In a couple of minutes, I'll show you dozens of test photos. But here I just really wanted you to get some idea what should you be expecting from the main lens and main sensor. Then we have the second lens, second sensor, and it's quite important because it has 85 millimeters and 200 megapixels. And the 200 megapixels means that you'll be really able not only to zoom pretty decently in digital zoom, but also that you'll have in your hands a tool to capture a lot of details, which is extremely useful in scenes like that when the peacocks are in a certain distance, in a couple of meters from you, and you're able to zoom to them, or the pigeon here, or that dancing bird at the bank of the Vltava river. So yes, once again, we'll see many more details, but just for the quick introduction, 200 megapixels is something which really counts. Plus, you are able to use this telephoto for details like that, which I really liked. And yes, of course, then we have the third lens, third sensor, which is ultra wide. It has 12 millimeters, again 50 megapixels, so it gives us a lot of opportunities to take shots like that in the winter Prague. And not only in Prague, but also in countryside when you need to squeeze a lot of information into one frame. I mentioned that we have this really special telephoto lens with 200 megapixels, so why don't we just test it in a real life and see what should we expect from zooming. So we can go from ultra wide up to 100, and here are the results. So this would be ultra wide, and we are going to the tower and to the clock, and here is the result. Once again, this is 100 times digital zoom. But of course, if you see these details here, you can clearly see that the camera makes some AI adjustments, but fair enough. One more example from my favorite testing place. Again, we are able to zoom towards Prague Castle, and here are the results, ultra wide, and we are going to see what we get here. And again, very, very impressive because we are really in a huge distance. But if you are bored by zooming to a castle or some clocks, here is much more realistic example. Quite often we just really want to get some shots like that when we want to zoom to animals. And here is the example of what we are able to get. And I was quite impressed because this is what you get thanks to the huge resolution of the sensor. I already mentioned, do not forget, you have the macro mode at the main sensor. It's here. You can see the symbol of the flower, which means that you're using macro mode. But now we are at 3.7, and suddenly now we are using telephoto. And the telephoto lets us to get to pretty decently small distance. We are able to get these details. Here are the examples, and why am I stressing this is that people quite often forget about that. They are just impressed or not impressed by the macro mode, but that is a sort of usage you should definitely try. So you just use the telephoto and you're able to get details like that. One more example, one more set of quite impressive details. Again, why am I stressing this once more? I really think that you should definitely try it, and this is a feature that a lot of people overlook. And this is not a macro mode, this is a clever usage of the telephoto lens. And yes, of course, then we have the portrait mode, and I was using it not for people but for the peacocks here. So we have a chance to regulate the level of the blur in the background, which really helps us to achieve a lot of interesting results. Typically, you would be using portrait mode only for close-ups, for shots from close distance. But the construction of this mobile phone allows us to do it even here. You can see that obviously the blur is artificial. It's done by algorithms, and this is a very uncommon feature because you are able to achieve that even when you are shooting something which is in a pretty big distance. Again, one more example, a statue shot from the Charles Bridge. This is what you would be typically getting, but look at this. I am able to set the blur to be there even from a couple of meters. I hope I do not sound confusing, but if you are an experienced photographer, you'll just love it. Actually, you're able to use this even in shots like that. It's a bit weird, but sometimes it can help. But I would typically use it in scenes like this, when you really enjoy that you are able to detach the background with the artificial blur. And of course, you have a lot of filters, a lot of styles. There are 3 basic styles: vibrant, natural, and authentic. Be a little bit careful about authentic because it adds darker corners. It's simply too much for me, but maybe you'll like it. Also, do try all these filters. Some of them might really be quite interesting. And there is one feature I never tested before. It's called Magic Color. You're able to select a photo and get some color tones and apply it to another photos. And you are able to use quite a nice set of pro features. We won't go into details, obviously, but in scenes like that, I quite often experiment with white balance. So let's use this as one of the examples of why Pro mode is something we should definitely try. And now I invite you for a big tour through Prague and through some other places. So I'll show you maybe 200 photos and I'll be going in a really big pace. And I apologize because sometimes you are criticizing me that I'm too quick and that you do not really have time to see all those shots. But this is not the point. The point here is that I want you to see as many photos as reasonably possible and to get some idea of what to expect from this mobile phone. So wintertime, freezing cold, but birds are still here, so we can try what the telephoto lens can offer us here. Really, once more, I was really surprised that you're able to get pretty decent details and pretty decent quality even if you zoom. We are now at the level of Vltava River, and that beautiful animal lets me to take some nice portrait shots with digital zoom, but still in a very good quality. Once more, this famous view of Prague, and let's walk through the streets again. And let me remind you that all these shots are without any edits, because I really want you to see exactly what I see in my mobile phone. So again, the famous peacocks in the Prague's gardens. I love to take shots of them, not only because they are nice and beautiful, but because I come here very often when I want to review cameras and mobile phones, and it gives me a really valuable sample of what to expect on the mobile phone and how it compares to another ones. And yes, of course, you will not be surprised that these results are really great, because the Honor Magic8 Pro is obviously one of the flagships, which compares to the really best mobile phones in that category. So beautiful details of peacocks in the Prague garden. You already noticed I am using portrait mode, so the background gets blurred. Once you are tired by peacocks, we can walk to another locations here in Prague. And again, the sun is shining, the colors are beautiful, so we are lucky that we are able to test that mobile phone in conditions like this. The famous Charles Bridge, some details of shots, and you simply will not be disappointed, because this this is a flagship mobile phone, which is really able to offer perfect quality for photographing people or birds or, of course, downtown Prague. I am shooting in HDR, and this video was actually recorded in HDR, which means that if you are watching it on a display which is capable of showing HDR quality, you'll see exactly what I did see when I was going through these shots in my gallery, which is quite important, because if I would be showing you just the ordinary video, you will not see how beautifully these shots can come out. As sun sets, we are entering my favorite period of day, because this is so-called blue hour, when maybe 20 minutes after the sun sets, the colors are blue, and we have a unique chance for maybe 10 or 20 minutes to take shots like that, which really helps to capture the beautiful atmosphere of Prague in winter. So a lot of colors, a lot of lights, and yes, the Honor was right to claim that you definitely will like what it offers you at night photography. And finally, let's go to this place. It's one part of the Charles Bridge when I love to take shots of this sort. And once again, we are lucky to have 50 megapixels. We are lucky to have a great quality of sensors. We are lucky to have a huge computing power in the processor. So the results would be exactly like you would really wish them to be. So Prague at night, and we are slowly getting to the end of my photo part of this review, and why don't we do it with the famous statue of famous Czech King Charles IV. Blue hour, blue sky, yellow king. And now I am going to show you a couple of examples of video recordings. And once again, like in all of my reviews, I have to apologize a little bit, because I do ignore video to a certain extent, because whereas in the case of still photography, I am really able to evaluate what the mobile phone I am testing can offer you. In the video, I'm not that big expert. So the best thing I can do is exactly what I am doing right now. So I'm showing you some examples, and I am letting you to make your own opinion. Obviously, you won't be disappointed. The quality will fit into what would you be expecting from a flagship mobile phone, which certainly counts among the top options you can get in the world of mobile photography. So, thank you so much for your attention. I hope you got a bit of inspiration. Take care. I'm Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic.